Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Light and Laugh. I am Lily.
I'm Lauren. Bringing a lot of laughs for you.
You know what? I think with every topic we cover, even though they're serious topics, we don't bring a little bit of humor into it. It does make it a little rough to consume it also, hopefully with a little bit of humor, which Lauren is great at. Everyone will be able to really absorb these messages in a different way and still enjoy it. Today we're going to be talking about something that, thank goodness, is being talked about more recently, because I feel like when we were growing up, this was not so openly talked about. Lauren, what are we talking about today?
So today I really want to discuss mental health and the journey of mental health and how it looks different for every person. But I really want to be a little vulnerable and express my mental health journey. And maybe somebody can resonate with it and feel some type of light after they hear what I went through and how I've come out of it on the other side.
Yeah.
So I really want to just start and dive and go right in. With mental health, it is extremely important to discuss because, like Lily had mentioned, it is not something that we weren't raised discussing mental health. It was almost taboo to say, I feel sad. I don't know what's bothering me.
And it still is for many people.
For many, exactly. And it also, I know it varies based on cultures, religions.
Yes.
And so without any of that bias, I think we need to recognize the individual, especially with everything that's going on in the world currently. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of divide. And if someone is not mentally strong and secure with themselves, they can be easily influenced by the hate that is being propagated onto us, pretty much. There's almost like another agenda that is needed out there. And so I want to really delve into my journey. And so a little bit over a year ago today, I personally...
We lost Lauren for a second there. Lauren, if you can still hear us, we're still here. Hopefully we can get her back. She kind of just magically disappeared. Lauren.
Okay.
Ah!
So let me put my do not disturb on so we don't have that happening again. Can you hear me?
Bit over. Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Oh, this is great.
I don't know what happened.
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Mike.
Yeah.
Mike. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
But I can't hear. As long as you can hear me, that's really all that matters. So,
I can hear you. But you're going to have to hear me.
I can't hear you.
What are we going to do?
It's me.
Okay,
it's me.
Go for it.
All right, let me keep going into my journey, and we will go from there. So a little over a year ago today, I would say that I was in one of my darkest spots in my life where, I had experienced a breakup. And although that is one type of grief, it spiraled into so many other things that unwound. And it just seemed like it was incident after incident after incident that just kept pushing me down further. So it started really with, for example, a breakup, which is grieving the loss of someone who was in your life and you might have expected them to be in your life forever. That was so painful in the sense where, to the point where you feel you can't get up some days. You don't have the energy or the motivation. And if anyone knows me, I'm usually very bubbly. I'm usually very energetic, bringing smiles to people's faces. My energy has always been very magnetic. But at this moment, it was very low vibrational. I felt I wasn't bringing light and joy to others. Instead, I was more or less feeling a cloud of just darkness over me. And I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I said that there was many variables that came into this. And so one of them After specifically breaking up with my ex-boyfriend, a few months later, I got into one of the biggest fights I've ever personally had with my mother. Now, that is someone who's usually, a lot of people have some issues with their parents, but you always know that your parent is supposed to kind of be your supporter, your back end cheerleader, you know? And when I needed her the most, I felt as if, I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching this, but let's keep it 100. I felt as if she was not focused on trying to help me get to a better spot and was now putting her own problems onto me. And this insight made me realize that I needed to really place boundaries. This is the first time I had ever encountered what boundaries were. I was raised kind of in a people pleasing, sense where I wanted to make sure the other person was happy. I almost got my sense of self-worth from other people's happiness. Almost feeling as if I was not worthy or valuable if you were frustrated or angry or something like that, because I always felt as if I had to take care. I had to make sure everyone else was okay. So when my mother at this time was approaching me with her own issues, and I was in a selfishly way saying, you're not even considering me, I'm in so much pain, and now you want to just put the topic on you. Well, that really gave me the insight to want to understand personally more about myself, why it was that I was feeling the way I was. And as I mentioned, it was because I had never really put boundaries in place. And it was an extremely uncomfortable position to even start. So let me fast forward to today. My mother and I have such a beautiful relationship. And I have to say that it came from a really dark spot of potentially losing each other in each other's lives. We were at the brink of ending our relationship as mother and daughter, which is by far even harder to grieve than grieving an ex. So imagine the loss of an ex, the potential loss of my mother. And then at the time, there were just other issues that, of course, it's snowball effects. It is what it is. I do agree. It's because when you are in a low vibrational state, you attract low vibrational things. It's almost like you manifest it. And I'm not here preaching have positive toxic positivity mindset. No. I want you to sit with your emotions, negative emotions. I want you to process your emotions because you need to get to the root of what is the issue. And that is where I determined people pleasing and no boundaries played a huge role in my unhappiness, in my dissatisfaction, in my unfulfillment in life. And when I realized that those two things played a huge factor in why I was so unhappy, I was now able to become more self-aware, and I was able to start implementing these new ideas that I realized make a difference in someone's joy. And so after communicating, which is not always easy, I have to say that communicating, yes, everyone could talk, but communicating effectively is really trying to understand the other person's point of view so well that you can rephrase what they are trying to communicate to you, and you can communicate it back to them so they understand you understand what they're saying. I think that is effective communication. Communication right now, I feel most people is very transactional. It is, I am listening to you, already creating a response in my head. I am not listening with empathy, trying to truly understand how you see this. Why do you see this? What causes you to see this? And then trying to show you I truly understand your point of view. Okay? that makes you a little bit more receptive to now hearing my point of view. If I make it clear that I understand and I took the time to try to understand because I've rephrased your statement back to me in my own words. So after this effective type of communication with my mother, we have now placed boundaries. We have now expressed how I felt. I felt I needed to always people please. And then when she understood my point of view, she made it very clear that that was not my responsibility, that I am not responsible to make her happy. And that was almost such a weight lifted off my shoulders that I was like, wow, she gets it. She hears me. So, like I said, fast forward, here we are today. Mom is one of my biggest supporters. She is my biggest cheerleader. And when I'm stressed out, she's there to hear me out. And she's there to give me advice and guidance. And it's just amazing to see how a year ago today, I was in a very dark, depressed state. And now today, I am filled with high vibrations. I feel I beam light out of my pores, and I just feel in a much more fulfilled state. I feel I can now communicate more effectively. And I have seen this, my mental health journey and where I am today, and the skills that I've learned on this journey, such as placing boundaries, such as effectively communicating and listening without trying to come up with a response, but really trying to understand the other person before I am trying to be understood. Those few little tips that I have personally implemented have made a huge difference in my life. And if there's one real message I can get across to somebody, is everybody has a stimulus and then a response. And it is what you do in between that gap of stimulus and response that is going to provide you the life that you want of either joy or unhappiness. So your mental health is in your hands. You do not have to follow anyone else's script. You can change today. As soon as you hear this message, you can start to take those skills and try to implement them in your life. And I invite you to, I encourage you to. It has been, when I tell you, the most exciting change you will personally ever experience. I look forward to it because every interaction now that I have, I try to implement that. I try to learn the pause. Now, it's not easy in every situation. You must be conscious and you must be aware. But the benefits, the end results is worth it. You get a deeper relationship with the people that you invest that in. And another thing I will say, if you're not comfortable implementing it, thinking you will not be 100% with it right away, which you won't, I want you to speak to that person, whoever your person is, and say, listen, I'm trying to implement new skills. Let me know if I am coming off a different way. Because now you're asking that person to participate in your growth. And guess what? It's going to benefit that person, making them more self aware about how they're acting. So it's literally a win win situation. Your mental health journey, when you truly make the commitment to becoming the best version of yourself, but figuring out why you are struggling with X, Y, and Z, which for everybody is a little different. It may take some journaling, it may take some meditating, it may take some honest communication with others to see how they view you. But when you get to see and you take that commitment seriously, I'm telling you that others will receive you differently. So with this cycle, you impact yourself positively and you impact others positively. So I really want to encourage everyone, please take the time, you're worth it, to invest in your own mental health. Lily, what do you
I
think about
I agree. I think Lauren, can you hear us
it? I
now?
can hear you.
That is magical.
It's magical.
Okay. So I completely agree with Lauren's message, her tips, her examples. I think it's really important that you kind of broke it all down. You gave some really good examples
Thank you.
of what had happened in your life and some tips on how you were able to fix that. I'm sure a lot of people can relate because these are topics, these are things that happen to everyone. Whether it's somebody that you're close to or not, this happens. And whether
Life.
it's professional or personal, it happens. And I had a perfect example this week with someone that I'm very close to where I decided to set a new boundary. And it was interesting because that person might think I am upset, but I'm not. And I was so fortunate. And when I explained it to other people close to me in my life, I told them I had this peace.
Yes.
And the old me implementing this, because I had to implement it because the situation I considered um, could have been viewed as disrespectful.
Mm,
And it wasn't the first time. So
mm.
I decided that I would remove myself from the situation. And I felt at peace. I felt calm. I felt fine. And I haven't spoken to that person since. They might think I'm upset, but I'm not. And it's beautiful, this peace that you could have once you just, like you said, it's hard to go from that moment to this moment. It takes work. It's not easy to have something happen and then react a certain way, but it can be achieved. And I think that was a perfect example, perfect tips. I think everything you said was perfect, and I think it was meant for me to listen. So
Oh.
the universe said we're going to cut off the mic here, the audio for you, so that we can communicate at the end of it. So I think we can wrap it up with that. I think you gave a perfect example. I think even your examples, like I said, apply to me. A
Well,
lot of the stuff you said apply to many people. So I'm sure many people will be able to relate to this, whoever gets to view this and is blessed with your wisdom. So Lauren, any other last words before we close this one out about mental health?
just know that when you stick to it, you will always come out the other side so much better. It's worth the work. You're worth it.
And for anyone watching this that wants to reach out to us and
Yeah.
talk to us, if they don't have someone to talk to about a situation in their life, they are welcome to. Whenever this message reaches you, we will try as best as we can to receive that message and hopefully get in contact with you, communicate through here. So we wish you all the best, sending lots of love, and don't be shy. Talk to us about your mental health, your journey, your
Yeah.
questions. If you have tips and advice, we want it. We
Send
haven't
it to
learned
us.
everything, we never will. We want some of that too. So thank you again for watching.
Lily, I just want to remind them, look down in the comments below to find our Instagrams, to reach out to us via DM, so that if you need any inspiration, any communication, we're here for you.
That's right, exactly. Lauren, send some hearts, please. Send some hearts.
Heart. Oh, now it doesn't want to work. Now it doesn't want to work.
It's okay.
You know
There
what?
it is.
By the
Bye,
way, it's my
guys.
new iOS update. So get the new
Thank you for
iOS
watching.
update.
Yes,